Welcome back to episode 8 of the Tech Lounge, and we are joined by a special guest, Steve from Hardware Unboxed, and of course we're joined by Kevin from Tech Showdown. How you doing, Steve? We'll go Steve first.
I'm doing well, thanks.
That's
Glad
it.
to be here.
That's it. So give yourself a little bit of an introduction for the viewers who may or may not know you.
You want me to? Well, I'm Steve from Hardware Unboxed, a little tech channel on YouTube. We do a lot of GPU comparisons, CPU testing, and just reviews in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. Same with Kev. And Kev, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Yeah, it's been pretty good lately. Still been getting out a few peripheral reviews and that, so that's been fun. And I'm just in the process of moving right now, so I'll be all moved out by Wednesday. So 2 days time, I'll be all gone from here and be in my nice new place. So a good start for the next year. Have a new area, new way to, new studio and that. So that'll be really fun, man, for hitting 2017 real strong.
Sweet, yeah, you got it, man. 2016 was a great year, man. Like I was surprised. The channel grew almost threefold. Like that was crazy. So really good year.
Yeah.
Capped off a really good year. So 2017, hopefully it's better.
Yeah, man. I hope so as well.
What's happened in the last week? Tell me what's happened in the last week.
In what regard? In general?
Yeah.
With the channels?
Yeah. So what's happened? Like pickups or whatever? Tech stuff?
Everything's just been cruising along quite nice. I think most of us are just waiting patiently for Q1 next year, Q1 2017, and then we're gonna start smashing the all these new awesome products that'll be coming out. Ryzen and Vega and everything else. And I look forward to doing a joint video we're planning to do right now, which is super secret. But you guys will see that I'll be doing with Playtech, which will be a build-off featuring Ryzen and Kaby Lake. So we're going to be doing a build-off around those two CPUs.
So confidential, mission impossible. So I got this.
Yeah.
My cap of the week would easily be this Real Force keyboard that I got in. Holy crap! The top Ray keyboard. Oh my goodness.
Everyone was going on to me about in the comments of my latest keyboard review.
Yeah.
Everyone was going on because I said Cherry MX is the best, and they're like, Brian would disagree with you.
I
with
would.
the top Ray keys.
I would, man. Thing is that even within the top Ray family, people are like the 55-gram switch is better because these have 45-gram switches, and now there's this big Reddit. There's not big. I don't know how big it is, but there's a mechanical keyboard section on Reddit, and these guys love the 55 grams. And now I don't know if that's the same switch as the one in the Nova Touch. That I have tried that before, and I think if you're a gamer, your pinky will get, if you control hotkey a lot, then your pinky will get sore after a long session. That's a critique about that one. I mean, the 45 gram is amazing as well. Like if you like the 55 gram, I'm sure you're gonna like the 45 gram. They've even got a 35 gram switch as well, I believe. So Top Ray have their own level of eliteness. And yeah, if you haven't tried a Top Ray Real Force, if you haven't, they're capacitive. They're these capacitive switches, and you try them, and you're just like, oh my god. That's how good. I'm not shitting you. I was a Cherry MX Blue fanboy. Trust me, for years. I remember when I first tried one in 2011 or 10 or something. I was like, oh my god, this is heaven. And then the Real Force came along. Oh my god, this is heaven. So there's nothing better now. There's just nothing better out there. It's as good as it gets. This is a capacity
80 grams
switch.
is where it's at, man.
80 grams.
Cherry MX green.
What? Show us your hand size. Have you got the mountain's hands or something? Do you realize 80 grams is made for basketball players? So yeah, that's that would be my highlight of the week. How about you, Steve? What's your highlight of the week?
My highlight of the week. Well, I looked at the Ryzen stuff, obviously, so that was interesting. And then probably the big thing was my 480 versus 1060 comparison. That was probably the biggest thing of the week.
Yeah, that was
huge. That was with the Relive driver.
Yeah,
Relive, sorry.
So talk about that a little bit with the audience. Tell them what's happened, what's going on with that. That was a huge video. I mean, absolutely massive.
Yeah, that took me. It was close to a week of testing just for those 4 GPUs in that one. So
well, that's what
lost a lot of time there.
Well, that's what I mean with those kind of results. That's why people are going to call you the benchmark king, right? That's you know. So basically, what did you find? Tell the audience a bit about what the
when we first tested the RX 480 against the GTX 1060, I think it was something like the GTX 1060 was around 12% faster on average. We tested about 25 games, I think, at release. So it was a broad, heap of games tested, and because they were, that's mostly DirectX 11 that gave NVIDIA the edge there. I think if we looked at DirectX 12, which we did separate the DirectX 12 results back then, and I think it was somewhere between 5 and 10% slower, the 1060. Anyway, overall, the headline was the GTX 1060 was 12% faster. Now that we've had multiple driver updates from AMD, which they've done a good job with, and we have the Relive driver, we went and retested, and now it's neck and neck. So AMD have made huge strides with their DirectX 11 performance. And I think the GTX 1060, I think it was 1% ahead, but I mean, it's the same.
1% at this stage as well. 1% at this point in time is actually dangerous for NVIDIA, because you look at how the drivers generally go over time and towards AMD's favor. That's actually looking a lot better for the RX 470 and especially the 480. And you've got those, and now you've got Relive, so you can capture your desktop. There really is no big excuse to go NVIDIA anymore. And that's what I've found with this Relive update, especially on those mid-range.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, 1070, 1080, bang, but different story. But mid-range, yeah,
it's great for the RX 480, but it's awesome news for AMD coming up with Vega. Like, if they've closed the margin that much in DirectX 11, it's going to really help them against the 1070 and 1080.
Yep. And also, I did see... Oh, sorry, you go, Kev.
No, I was just going to say, do you think as well, Steve, that it was NVIDIA's been having so many problems, driver-related problems lately, and it's actually infuriated a lot of people, which is sort of a reverse from how it used to be, I suppose. Maybe if we go back like a year and a half or something like that, it was the other way around. But do you think that's also going to be a big factor? That NVIDIA is coming out with a lot of drivers, but they seem to be having a lot of problems as well with them, but as opposed to AMD, which have had very few problems, I believe, by comparison.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that in my Relive video that was on a few weeks ago, and yeah, it's basically really bad timing for NVIDIA and great timing for AMD that they've sort of got their driver game together, and NVIDIA's is. I mean, they're not doing it. I mean, it depends who you speak to, I suppose. It's not.
I think they're doing
in
a terrible job.
State, but yeah, I mean, the GeForce experience. That's probably gone a bit backwards.
That's for sure.
See, that's the biggest thing. It's terrible. They should have just scrapped it. That's what I've said. They should have seen the negative feedback with it. They should have just scrapped it.
I think so. I didn't have a problem with the previous version. I don't know about you guys, but I thought the previous version worked
great.
well.
Yeah, worked well. It was great. It even had the game optimization in it too. Yeah. I'm slapping myself on the head. It's like, it's clearly because we're enthusiasts, right? People in this market have an open mind. A lot of people in enthusiast tech, they have an open mind. They can see what's going on. It's not like you're just some guy playing football and you never use a computer and you don't care about telemetry. People game and they need their gear to perform as best as possible. And when you're adding telemetry in just so obviously, well, not obviously, because people took them ages to find out that there was actually telemetry baked into the drivers. And then when you get that, when you see that, people are furious. It's because it's like, oh, I knew something was running crap and shitty with this new update. Oh, and here it is. Thanks for letting us know, kind of thing. So it was I guess people not only felt betrayed, but they felt stupid. I mean, I felt stupid when I was I was trying to do a 1070 review, and I'm wondering why I'm getting way less performance than even a 980 Ti. Like, what's going on here? Oh, okay, it's forced an update to GeForce Experience 3. Whatnot, and then you finally figure it out. Okay, it's this setting, and I want shadow play. So if I don't have this setting on, I'm going to lose performance. And if I do have this setting on, I can't capture video. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just really
I think that's a really good point. And I just asked people in chat. I just said RX 480 or GTX 1060. Which would you pick? And a lot of people are saying the 480.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big change now. And when I just shot my video, which was the top tech of 2016 for my GPU segment, I put the runner-up as the RX 480, the Asus Strix model.
You might want to scrap that video.
Well, you have to watch the video. But the reason I put it is that because I'd seen all these improvements and the price point it's coming in at is still very attractive to a lot of people out there, especially some of the 4 gig models. So I think it's going to come, their market share is going to increase more in that aspect now that the drivers have really have gotten that much better, and all these sort of software driver related problems that NVIDIA have been having. So yeah, that's why I decided to put it as that. But I think a lot of people might complain that, why wouldn't it be the 1060 instead? But I just think going forward, I just think it's going to, this trend will continue to the point where it's not neck and neck anymore, and if anything, that the RX 480 will start to pull ahead.
Well, you're seeing it now. What you're seeing is RX 470 is coming down to around about 155, whatever, on these savings. That's clearly the easiest pick. If you're going to a new graphics card, get one of those for the money. It is the best value for money out there for a new graphics card. I love it. What do you think, Steve?
Best pick. Well, I mean, as I sort of said, I think it really comes down to the pricing, and it does differ massively from region to region. In Australia right now, I don't know if you're aware, but the GTX 1060 is a fair bit cheaper than the RX 480.
Is that 3 gig or 6 gig? I haven't really checked too much.
The 6 gig 1060. It was last week when I checked the prices. Anyway, it was actually cheaper to buy a 6 gig 1060 from Newegg and have it shipped over. Pay $40 shipping. It was still quite a bit cheaper than what we were paying here.
As expected.
Amazon's
pretty cheap for shipping though. Amazon will usually do like $18-19 shipping if you can pick it up right. So
yeah, I was pretty surprised. Yeah, to be honest with you.
And we've also sorry. I'll also say the Tech Lounge will not be airing next week or the week after. So we're going on Christmas break. So we're going on Christmas break, have some holidays and whatnot. So, but content will be scheduled up for that break as well, because there's reviews and whatnot that have to be done. But we'll be back in 2 weeks with the Tech Lounge as well. So it's not going anywhere.
Is it 2 weeks? We'll be back on the 9th of January. Yeah, that Monday.
It looks like it will. Yeah, actually, we're missing 2 weeks, and then so we'll be back in 3 weeks almost. Oh no.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah,
it's
the
Christmas,
9th of January, guys.
Yeah, it's Christmas. Love you all. So sorry, Steve, you got the details up?
I was just going to say, basically, in Australia, the GTX 1060 pricing is around $350 for a 6 gigabyte 1060, whereas the 480 cards, I see one listed for 360, one for 380, but they're all around the $385 to $400 price.
Yeah.
So that's, it's not drastic, but for the same performance, you're paying, a little bit more for the 480 here. So.
Oh, that's quite interesting. Yeah, because it's they're in New Zealand at Playtech. It's about they're about the same price for a 6 gig non-reference 1060 as it is for a reference 8 gig 480. But there's also the 4 gig 480s, and they're about $30 cheaper.
Yeah, the 4 gig 480s are the best bang for your buck there, if you're not going to go for the 4 gig RX 470.
Yeah, and they're the same as the 3 gig. So yeah, you could either get, it's exactly the same at Playtech. So you could either get a 3 gig 1060 for 420 New Zealand dollars, or a 3 gig 1060, or a 4 gig RX 480, both non-reference, obviously. So
so I'd go for the 480 there.
Yeah. So that's the one I think most people would pick as well.
Yeah, I'd pick
unless
the
it's a
RX.
special or something, and then you could get something else.
I mean, just quickly going on Amazon, there's one here for $170, so cheap. You know, it's for an RX 474 gig. Bang, job's done. Job's done. All right, so we're going to move on to the first topic here. i7 7700K temps lowered by 26 degrees after a thermal paste replacement. Insane. So someone delided this chip, NDA chip. Doesn't matter. You know, all the benchmarks are out there too, so it kind of makes NDAs pointless, right? But we've got here the 7700K delided, and yeah, the temperatures have gone down a whopping 26 degrees. So it's got their 90 degrees on core 0, and then we look at it again. There is, yeah, 64 degrees. So yeah, 26 degree drop by deliding it and putting some, what I assume is Liquid Pro. Cool Laboratories Liquid Pro. So that's usually what you put on as thermal replacement if you're doing these things. So yeah, that's huge. And I mean, what it means is also is that this chip is not soldered, which rumors had it that it was soldered to the die, but it's clearly not. So that's that's really disappointing. I mean, I thought the whole thing was this was a new architecture, and what we're seeing is that it's not a new architecture, and then this as well, they're still pulling off this stuff. I mean, what's next year? Is it like, you know, Habby Lake, and oh, we soldered it this year, guys. that's a new CPU architecture, Z370 motherboard shipped out, you know, woo.
It's really disappointing to see, because that's like when Haswell came out, the 4770K, and which was the main one, it just ran so unbelievably hot. And I know because I had one for a long time, and mine was easily going well above 90 degrees when you do torture tests and stuff like that. Now, at the same time, then they had to bring out Devil's Canyon, which was essentially the same thing, just with these upgrades to the thermal interface material and things like that to try fix it. And a lot of people thought they did fix it completely, and that this wouldn't be an issue going forward. And then now to have this crop up again is really disappointing. Well,
I mean, Liquid Pro though, the Liquid Pro stuff's really expensive, and you like, if you're a manufacturer like Intel, you couldn't put that on the CPUs, because if it comes off the die, it's going to short out the chips. So I mean, it is an enthusiast thing, but at the same time, 26 degrees, I mean, I'm sure there's a better alternative than what they're using in their chips at the moment, right? There's something I'm sure that could get 15 degrees. Hell, they should just be soldering it on. Wasn't it from Ivy Bridge that they started using thermal paste? Was that the generation that they started?
I can't actually remember, but the Skylake didn't have this problem, as far as I know. In all my Skylake testing, I never ran into any sort of problems like with huge, ridiculous temperatures and stuff like that. Did you guys run into that with Skylake, or I don't remember?
I'm going to test the 6700K and the 7700K and have a look at them side by side on the same motherboard. Something I was sort of planning on doing today, to see how different the temperatures are, because I think that'll be really interesting to see that.
Yeah, well, I honestly, I was too afraid to do it on the Skylake because the PCB was so thin. Now, if you delid, chances are you're going to crack the PCB. So, I was always too scared to do Skylake. I mean, because those other Haswell, had a thick PCB, and so you could do that. Just I was scared, I chickened out, man. So, but I never really did have a problem. Like I never. Essentially, I didn't have a problem though with Skylake. It was okay. It reached its 4.6 or whatever. The good one I had anyway. I had another one that went to 4.2. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I don't remember ever getting that. The one I tested went to, I can't remember. I was at about around 1.3 volts, anyways, and it was on air cooling, a good Noctua air cooler though. And I remember it sitting about high 60s. So it was about 68 degrees Celsius or something like that. Where this one, they're saying was at 1.34 volts, and it's going to 90 degrees Celsius on one of the cores, which is not that good to see, and that's with a Kraken X62 cooler on as well. So
is that Noctua or Noctua or Noctuawa?
I don't know. It's a funny word. I just say Noctua because that's how Kiwi say it.
Noctua. I've got no idea anyway. So I'm just copying the Japanese. They say tu as chew, so Noctua.
Well, we say Tua like David Tua and stuff. Tua. Just that's how we pronounce it. But so that's kind of pretty disappointing. And I mean, the overall thing that this makes me think of is Kaby Lake is shaping up to be probably the worst CPU launch I've ever seen out of Intel in terms of 1% IPC gains.
It's not even 1%,
heat
dude.
problem.
It's like nothing. It's variance, man.
It's nothing, and this is just all a nightmare. And all this makes is that it's going to be so much better. It's like AMD's dream. What's their CEO called? Lisa Su, is it?
Yeah, Lisa Su, yeah.
Yeah, it's like her dream now that like Ryzen's about to come out and Kaby Lake's having all these problems. So if AMD don't dominate after this, then I don't think they're ever going to, because this is about the best opportunity the market's ever presented for a new CPU to enter and steal away a huge
that's it.
It's
like someone's passed them the basketball. All the other players have just fell down from shock. And now you've got that easy little shot from the, right up close to the hoop. So hopefully they don't airball it, That's what we got to hope. AMD don't throw an airball. That's all you got to hope. We got here, so speaking of the IPC, Hard OCP have already published a 7700K review. And, for the better part, it looks pretty accurate. And, you got Cinebench R15 here, bang, like nothing. So basically the IPC is virtually the same. One would even doubt that this is a different architecture. I mean, you have to get thermal shots of it all up, but I'm pretty sure this isn't even a new architecture. It's just a revision. That's what it's looking like. The higher overclock's just coming from, obviously the refinement and the yields and whatnot. So bang, they're getting higher yields out of their CPUs. They're going to overclock better. That's about it. So realistically, that's what you're looking at with Kaby Lake. So, have you seen these results, you guys?
I'm just having a look at them now, and I'm not really. The only thing I've seen looking through this is if you went to the power consumption
identical
page, it looks like on load it's down by about 6%. It seems like in terms of power consumption, so you get a little bit less there.
But again, that can be from refinement. It's just that's it. That could just be from that. That's possible. Like you look at a GPU like Vega or whatever AMD's GPUs. Their RX 480s, they're getting better yields now. Power consumption is going to go down with that, dude. Like that's why you've got your 6400T or whatever. Your T processors are just the cherry picked ones that run at a certain wattage at a certain speed. So I mean, the power consumption you should expect it to be down because Skylake's been out for so long now on 14 nanometer. So really, it's much of the same CPU. That's what we're getting. So I mean, that just is disappointing. It's a
Skylake refresh.
Yeah, I don't even know what they called this Kaby Lake. It's just Skylake refresh. Yeah. So
that's all it is.
Anyway,
I mean, there's still some good points. I mean, like it still has on-die USB 3.1 controller and support for Thunderbolt 3, which can support 2 4K displays. But I think I don't know. I don't think anybody running Skylake is going to be upgrading at all. I don't think anybody would bother, and I think even maybe previous people running. People would say if you're running still Sandy Bridge or something like that, or even maybe Haswell, I think those people would also not they probably would just go to Skylake if anything.
I mean, there are some okay points, and that wait for the review, but there are some okay points, but overall pretty damn disappointing if you're looking at these results and stuff like that. So yeah. Have you guys got any more last thoughts about this before we move on?
Not a huge amount. I just agree with Kev. If you've got a Skylake processor, there's obviously no way you're going to this. There's, if you had a Core i3 or something like that, and you wanted to upgrade, then you might as well. I think probably Sandy Bridge, Ivy Bridge users probably worth upgrading to.
No,
but
that's
at
the
the same
thing.
time,
They were waiting out for this. Those guys on Sandy and Ivy were wait. They were like, "Is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the 10% and the overclocks?" And no, wait another year, boys. that's my suggestion.
well, I would suggest hanging out for Summit Ridge, basically. At this point.
Oh, yeah.
If you can hold out a little bit longer, that's what you'd be doing.
We'll be talking a little bit about that later, but we got here the highest overclock ever, 3 gigahertz on a GPU. Damn, someone went crazy here on the trigger. So yeah, at an event, someone broke the 3 gigahertz barrier with a GTX 1060 with liquid nitrogen. So previously they had got 2.8 gigahertz, but now they're on 3 gigahertz. So absolutely insane. I mean, could you imagine having a GPU run at 3 gigahertz? I mean,
one day, man. I mean, like years ago, remember, it was like a big thing to have like a gigahertz. You know, when the 79.7 gigahertz edition came out, everyone was like, "Whoa, wow!" It's like 1,000 megahertz straight out of the box. Like, wow. So, and now we're up over 2,000.
I mean,
out of
technically
the box
speaking, that
70s.
would drop your input lag, wouldn't it? Technically speaking, yeah. Should. I mean, it should drop your input lag. That's just my opinion. So
yeah, maybe, but I think it's, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, this is something that will happen in the future. I mean, probably not for a few cycles yet, but yeah, I see 3 gigahertz out of the box. I mean, even people were saying, maybe even a year and a half ago, before there was any sort of mention of Pascal, was, will we get over 2,000 megahertz, straight out of the box? And now you get 1080s and 1070s. And even, if you're super lucky, you might get a 1060, which will get over 2,000 megahertz straight out of the box with GPU Boost 3.0 without you even having to touch anything. So, I think it's definitely, it's, things are definitely trending in that way, and we'll start to see it go higher and higher. And 3 gigahertz, I imagine, in the next 2 years, probably 2 years' time, we'll have GPUs coming out then, which will be at around that speed.
I'm just hoping they can overtake CPUs. CPUs have stagnated.
With the way they're made. Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I thought, but yeah, to clear that up, I don't want to make it too complicated for you guys, but it's maybe Steve can help me out.
They love complicated.
Yeah, like it's just not the way they're set up in terms of the cores and everything else, especially on, say, NVIDIA, to do with the CUDA cores and that. It would be difficult, I'll put it that way. It'd be very, very difficult for them to overtake CPUs.
That said, if Intel keeps cranking out Kaby Lake or Kaby Lake,
then it'll happen eventually.
happen.
It'll eventually happen, yeah. Just keep getting the revisions out there, yeah.
But yeah, basically what Kevin's saying is they're just much more complicated.
Yeah.
They run so many more cores rather than just a few, so it's just different, guys. It's much more difficult to do it. But I mean, it theoretically you could get it to that point if Intel really sat on their hands, but I really doubt it after, Ryzen, as we'll talk about a bit later. I think that's really going to give them a big kick up the backside, and they're going to go, well, we're hoping it does anyway, and then they'll really start to think like, oh wow, we actually need to innovate now. We actually need to try and get back some market share instead of just being lazy.
Well, we got here next up Corsair. They got their Force MP500 NVMe PCIe M.2s being released. Now, these SSDs look pretty damn quick. So their sequential read max of 3 gigabytes per second, and then sequential writes 2,400 megabytes per second. Huge. I mean, the IOPS there are massive. Even on the 4K, random writes there, that's huge. So these things are looking to be some fast little puppies. So they got Phison controller on there. You got Toshiba NAND flash. And the price isn't too bad. If they can hit those speeds at those prices, this thing's going to be a big hit, I think, because there's always people looking for those speeds from PCIe M.2s. So what do you guys think about these Corsair MP500s?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, the price seems really good. I think it's $325 US for the 480 gigabyte model. I think that's the biggest one at this point, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what we're looking at.
And I mean, on paper, it looks better than the, because that's priced similar. Well, it's actually a bit cheaper than the 960 Evo, that the new Samsung NVMe drive. And the right on paper anyway, the right performance looks a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't really know till you test them.
Exactly.
But yeah, on paper they look good. They look really good.
Yep. And I mean, I tested the A-Pacer. That was really good for the money. So hopefully this comes in and it's faster. It's, you know, it might be a little bit more expensive. But again, with this kind of NVMe PCIe M.2, the speeds is what you want. So if you're getting the speeds, and that endurance rating is really good on the 480 gigabyte too. That's a lot. Whoa, you know, like near 700.
Well, that's what I should have pointed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's MLC memory.
Yeah. Well, that's the good stuff.
So,
yeah, MLC is the good stuff. Well, I mean, isn't there the best? Their best one's SLC, yeah, but that's like super expensive. So MLC is good. It's the next best thing. Sorry.
Yep. No. Yeah, so really, I think we should be comparing it to the 960 Pro, not the 960 Evo, because the Evo is TLC.
Yeah.
The 960 Pro is the MLC drive, and that's so you're paying $500 US for the 512 gigabyte 960 Pro.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, nearly $200 US cheaper for the Corsair model. So I'll be really interested to see how that thing performs. And yeah, if it does come in at those prices, because at the moment I don't think it's actually on sale, is it? That's just that's Newegg's listing it at that price.
I don't think I've seen them come out. I don't know about the sizing though. Like, maybe it's just me, but I just think that 120 gigs is sort of like it's just, you know, not that usable anymore. I think it should just start at 240 and up, because I mean, people will say, well, what if people want it just for a dedicated games drive, which is fair, but I think if you're getting something this fast, you'd want it for your OS and everything as well. So
it depends.
I personally feel like you shouldn't go less than 240 if you're going to have your OS, unless you're a real minimal user and you just put nothing on, put all your applications on something else. But if you're wanting to put games on it and stuff too, I think 240 is where it's at.
The thing is though, for a 120, it's like, you know, you branch it down, right? You're getting all the parts that maybe you're getting parts whatever selectively, and you're just dropping them down to a lower model. It makes sense to release a lower model from a company standpoint, because they're all your sort of off parts, you know what I mean? But sorry, I
was just saying, I agree with Kevin on that one. Basically, you're paying $1 per gigabyte on the 120 gigabyte model, so already there it's not good value, and the performance is significantly down on the 240 gigabyte model. So, you know, if you see a review on the 240 or 480 gig model and think, oh wow, they're really fast, you know, but I can afford the 120, you're probably better off getting a high performance SATA drive almost.
I know, but that's the same on like almost any SSD model and lineup. The 120s are always slower than the 240s and the 500s. But all I got to say is, if you're a company, what are you going to do? You're going to get your lower performing stuff and throw it in the bin? No, you're going to put it into a, you know, entry level tier product, and I think it's a smart move. You know what I mean? You look at the endurance ratings, they're down.
Yeah.
You know, look at the speeds, they're not going to be as fast. The IOPS are certainly down, so I'd say that 3,000 megabytes per second for the 120 is going to be out the window, especially with those IOPS. But yeah, what you got is also a drive for people who want faster speeds than an SSD. And say, for instance, they're just going to load up the OS, browse, and put a couple of their favorite games on there, maybe like Overwatch and you know, Dota 2 or League of Legends, and that's all they're going to be doing on those computers. That's kind of all you need. And then you've got that real fast performing drive. So
yeah, but I mean, for I think it's 120 something US, they're $128 US they're charging for that drive. For that same money, you can get a 0.5 terabyte MX300 drive, and I honestly think if we do real world comparison tests, I don't really think it'll be noticeable.
I know.
So,
but still,
it's a difficult sort of, but that's what I think, you know, that 120 gigs were good a few years ago, but I think the way things are going now, it's sort of like hard drives. You used to be able to get very small hard drives back years ago, and now it's pretty much impossible to find anything under 500 gigs. It seems like that seems like the minimum nowadays for the majority of.
I like the little
HDDs.
120, man. You guys have been way too harsh on that poor little 120. You're going to town on it, beating up on it. Poor, it's got feelings too.
Sorry,
That's all I
Brian.
say. It's got feelings, man. The 120's got feelings. What was your first SSD? What did you start out on? I started out on
Intel
120.
330 series.
Was it a 120?
Yeah, it was a 120.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
but
I
it was
started
like
out on 120. Yeah. Okay.
This
Steve?
was like two and a half years ago, man. I started
just
out
I
on.
think
doesn't matter.
mine might have even been 64 gig.
Oh, there we go. There we go. We've got to stop hating on the little guy. He was
But, I
helping
mean,
us out.
but I mean, we could say the same thing about like your hard drive when you first built your first computer. I mean, I think I can't even remember how big my hard drive was in that thing, but it wasn't huge. But now I run a 3 terabyte hard drive, and my SSD is 400 gigabyte 750 series. So, yeah, I just think it's, I don't know,
Well, yeah, I know Brian.
Times change,
Sorry,
yeah.
yeah, I know Brian's joking, but back then I think what was a AAA title weighing in at like 5 gig, maybe 10 for the big ones. You know, back when the SSDs sort of first got on the scene. Whereas what are they now? Like 40 gigs a small game for a AAA title.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a great point as well.
All right, so we're going to go into here. AMD Horizon, big conversation. This is the one, I think, this is what we were saying. So we got through all the topics at the start of the episode, you know, all the you know, itty-gritties here and there and everywhere, but people wanted to talk about Horizon. You know, the new Horizon, Ryzen, Zen, Ryzen, Horizon. So this was it, the big event. What did you guys take out from that? Do you guys want to go first? Because that was, for me, there was some good things there, and there was also some things that I wasn't too impressed with. So if you guys want to hit this up, get it all out in the water, and then I can probably play a little bit on devil's advocate here. So go for it.
Well, I was impressed. So,
Yeah.
you know.
But what was the most impressive part for you? Like, just go through, because we got the events there. We had the new features of the processor: pure power, precision boost, extended frequency range, which all kind of tie into each other. And then we got smart prefetch, which was something I was worried about. So I'll talk about that after. But then we had the Vega demo as well. The Vega demo was good. That was really good. I like that. You know, even though it was on Doom on Vulkan, which, you know, we want to see some more games. So, I mean, the thing is, we got to believe at this point. I know that. It just doesn't matter. Even any negative, and if there's anything negative, you just ignore it. You're just like, yeah, AMD for life. We got to believe. But okay, you guys go. You guys go. So I want to hear the goodness.
I think it's like, yeah, there's a few good things I liked out of it. Obviously, they've been touting the IPC gains of over 40% for a while now. That's nothing new to you guys. Personally, I'll say I actually really liked the XFR, which is their extended frequency range. This is going to be very similar, I think, to what NVIDIA runs with GPU Boost 3.0/2.0 as well, to a certain degree. Yep. In that it will keep adding speed as long as temperatures allow up to a certain threshold. So I think that's going to be very good. It will give people higher performance than just, say, a rated base and turbo clock like you got out of Intel for a very long time. And it'll be more similar to GPUs that you get, where you still get that base and boost clock, but oftentimes it'll go up 200 megahertz higher than the rated boost clock. So I think that will be quite interesting with it also. And there's just that was the main ones for me, and the L2 cache being ridiculous is also very which ties into smart prefetch. Okay. But yeah, for me the main one was that. Yeah.
Okay, so make no mistake though, smart boost is not, or precision boost, it's still not going to substitute for a good overclock from an enthusiast. That's just not going to go anywhere.
No.
You know, you're going to have it reaching a max voltage limit for a set overclock. Say if it goes to 4.2 at 1.4 volt, theoretically, it's going to get there, but you could have got to 4.2 at 1.3. So now 1.4 is like the safety cutoff, where they don't want to push it above that. You're then going to see, especially on a really good power supply and a really good motherboard, you're going to be able to get maybe even a possible extra 300 or 400 megahertz on these CPUs by manually overclocking, as opposed to going with a precision boost. It's just that thing of knowing your CPU, knowing how it performs, and watching its diminishing returns. Something that, I mean, I doubt it's still going to, I mean, it could do it. It could do it. I'm sure it could. But I know, especially even with GPU Boost 3, you can still get that extra chunk of performance by manually overclocking it. So, I mean, that's my opinion there. The thing that worried me was smart prefetch. I mean, she went over it. Lisa Su went over it and said, it's got this, we got this new feature called smart prefetch. And then straight away after that, she's like, Robert, hit the benchmarks. And now Robert's already got the computers loaded up, got the benchmarks ready to go. My biggest question and my biggest concern, did Robert already run these benchmarks once before? And that's something I'm going to ask to the viewers. Can Blender take advantage of something like smart prefetch? In that it's not
too big though.
The thing is though,
too big.
Yeah, but no, I don't know how this. It says this.
The cache isn't. The cache is big, but it's not that big. Like it's bigger than I think.
You've got to understand. It's got sophisticated learning algorithms. Like I don't even know algorithms. Blender works off algorithms. Now, if you're running the benchmark through once before that, especially if you're not running the benchmark off a cold boot, then it could learn those algorithms, and then it could then cater. You could cheat. Essentially, it could cheat. It could cheat. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you did a cold boot and then you ran the benchmark, but if you did a cold boot and then you ran the benchmarks, I'm wondering, would there be different results? That's all. I'm just putting that out there in the air. That's my biggest concern. I've seen it done before.
I don't really see it though, and I mean they also did games, and of course I don't think. I just don't see it being. I don't know, Steve. Do you reckon it played a part or not?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Especially for Handbrake and Blender, those kind of tests, I really don't think so.
That's why I don't know how they work. I don't know how Handbrake and Blender work, though. That's what I'm saying. And I know for a fact, if you're doing,
we don't understand how smart prefetch works too. If they just say it's a sophisticated learning algorithm. So, I mean, but again, I just don't see it because it's quite, that's quite big for it to take in. But I mean, potentially, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know the programs. I don't know the programs. I just know if you. For instance, if you're doing something like that, real world, you're only going to run it once. You're not going to encode the same video twice. You know what I mean? So if you did run the benchmark twice, it's just a concern. And then, of course, we had like the benchmarks with Battlefield 1 on Ultra 4K. It's like, this isn't a CPU-bound benchmark, boys. What's going on? You know what I mean? They're testing in Titan XP. I'm like... And then they're starting off the benchmark at 2 different occasions. And then I saw stuttering on the AMD computer. I was kind of like, a bit of a shock for me. I didn't want to see this. I wanted to keep believing. But I have to raise these doubts. I can't sit there and be blind, I know. Yeah. I know. I want to be blind. I want to be a blind fanboy. I want to get AMD for life on my shirt. Get that crack and go get ripped at the gym. I want to go do that. But I can't ignore the concerns, There are concerns with that event. That's all. I don't think it's about being a fanboy, but someone in chat made a very good point, and he said, I think the prefetch is more at a micro level than a macro level. 1 or 2 seconds of benchmarking is millions of instructions, so more than enough for the concurrent fetching to learn.
Yeah.
So I think that's true to a certain perspective, but I mean, again, we'll know more once we actually get to testing these ourselves.
We need programmers to come in and sort of weigh and give their 2 cents, because I'm not a programmer. I don't really know shit when it comes to that. But you get your programmers come in and they weigh in and say, okay, is it possible? And this guy's saying basically during the benchmark it can learn. So during that benchmark it could then get an advantage over the Intel CPU. But what I'm trying to say is...
You'll see it anyways once we start doing our testing.
Exactly,
you do, say, a handbrake test, and then you can see, I ran it the first time, I got this particular score or whatever, and then I did it second time, and I got this particular one. So I think people figure out pretty quick if they were doing that, and I don't think they would make that mistake, because they would know that most reviewers will run a test more than once to make sure that personally, that's something I do to make sure I don't get outliers. Sometimes you might run a benchmark or something and you get a ridiculously high score and you think, hey, that's not right. So I usually will run it twice to make sure that it's very consistent and there's no huge margin of error between the results.
I know, and just so people know what I'm saying in
something.
the comments, just so people know what I'm saying out there in the description, right? You go up, get a hard drive, load up a video game. The first time it'll take 50 seconds. Close it down, load it up again. It'll load up a lot faster because it's now in the memory. It's now pre-fetched. So the thing is, that's what I'm concerned about, you know. And I don't know enough about programming to delve into the details, but it's just a point that I want to raise because we're not seeing the raw comparisons yet. I mean, if I had a CPU and it was going to kick ass, I'd be saying, hey boys, it's here. Bang, show all the freaking juicy benchmarks that people want to see. I wouldn't hold back. And I'd really create a lot of hype, you know? Where to the point where people just want to go people want to go out and pre-order this thing hands down. And I think there's that uncertainty in the air a little bit. I mean, definitely after seeing that event, there was a little bit of uncertainty in the air for me.
Yeah.
So
I was convinced.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you should never pre-order anything. I think you should always wait for independent reviewers like us to do them first. So definitely wait for that. But judging from what we're seeing, it can be. I mean, it could be the case, but I would say right now, I would douse it from the point of view that I think it would be figured out so quickly by reviewers that they wouldn't really bother. But in saying that, with the Fury X, they cherry-picked a lot of the benchmarks they showed before the Fury X came out, and then when reviewers got their hands on it, the expectation was a lot higher than what we actually got. So I wouldn't put it past AMD because they'd done this before and that upset. I mean, me especially, when I got the Fury X, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be so powerful, going to blow the 980 Ti out of the water. Then I actually started my testing and I was like, wait, is something wrong with this? Like, is my one bad or something? Is there something wrong? Because the performance, and I watched other people's videos and everyone else was sort of saying the same thing, and then but they touted with all their 4K benchmarks and specific games and that, and they were like, look how powerful this is, you know, blowing the 980 Ti out of the water, and it just wasn't the case. So you guys have always got to wait for reviewers to do their thing and check it out, and then they'll, you know, really clever reviewers and that will be able to break down these technologies for you guys as well in a way that, I mean, a lot of you guys are enthusiasts and you'll probably know how some of this stuff works or have an idea about it, but a lot of people don't fully understand this stuff, and they'll be able to break it down so you can understand it better once they've actually tested it.
Steve.
Yep.
Talk to me.
Hi, how you going, Brian?
Well, no, I mean, I want you to weigh in on this, bro.
Well, yeah, look, I was impressed with what I saw. You know, it's a PR thing, so you've got to take, you know, that with a grain of salt to a certain degree. But no, look, it looked good to me, and I was at the time I was trying to remember back to when Bulldozer was released and how things went that way, and I remember it was AMD were much quieter about that. Let's just say that, and I remember closer to release when we were just, you know, days away from getting our samples, AMD went really quiet about performance, and they weren't saying too much. And they, you know, weren't hyping it. At least that was from my perspective anyway, and how they dealt with me with the sample. And then when we sort of started saying, you know, this isn't looking great, it's not performing well, they didn't have much to say about it. And, you know, when you do a review, and if, you know, like Kevin was saying with his Fury X, if it's down on performance a bit, you sort of reach out to them and say, well, you know, the numbers I'm getting here don't look great. Am I doing something wrong? You know, so on and so forth. And with the FX stuff, they, you know, I was sort of saying, you know, this doesn't look great. And yeah, they didn't have really anything to say about that, and they weren't hyping the performance like they are this time around. So I think they're pretty confident with what they've got. And the guys from AMD that I've been speaking to are like, no, this is the real deal this time. So
okay, all right. Well, I mean, just the word on the street is 20% lower IPC. That's the word. So,
yeah, well.
Than Intel's offering. So
yeah, I mean it comes down to
price
20% still.
It's very respective in today's. It's very respective. It's huge improvement over the FX lineup. So I mean, it just depends. It remains to be seen what they're going to release. But I mean, a lot of people out there, I think they've got, like, you know, bang, they want to see it just smash IPC, bang, they want to see it 1-to-1 with Intel. So I don't know. You know, it remains to be seen. But I'm just going to say word on the street is 20% lower. But doesn't matter. We got to believe. We have to believe. So
well, everyone wants to see it. Everyone wants to see the IPC performance on par, but the price half.
I will point out with the Dota
Okay.
2 streaming as well. I don't know what was going on with their benchmark there. The 67, I think they had a 6700K streaming Dota 2. I really don't know what was up with that, because they said, oh, it's working fine on the computer's end, but then the end result, the stream was all choppy. I'm like, that's got to be with your streaming software or stream settings. I mean, I've never heard of a 6700K not being able to stream Dota 2 of all games. You know, that game's just easy. Like, I could probably stream that on the E5640 or the Nalum CPU, you know, from friggin' years ago, 8 years ago. You know, I was kind of wondering, I was scratching my head with that benchmark, kind of like, you know, so. But yeah, that's so that's my concerns there. I mean, we did see the Vega benchmark with Doom, so that was good to see that was beating the 1080, which was great. So we're on track. So what do you guys
very
think?
cherry picked again then. Very cherry picked.
Well, I'm going
game
okay, you can
Vulkan
play
or
devil's advocate
OpenGL,
this time.
no
Look,
DirectX 11.
Kev, you can play devil's advocate. I'm going to be like, no, I'm pretty impressed with the benchmark. Was liking what I was seeing. That's me. You can play devil's advocate.
It's impressive, but it's not impressive at the same time, because Doom is the special snowflake of games. Vulkan is, you know, again, very special. People, you know, heads explode when I tell them that I don't think Vulkan's going to take off. I think DirectX 12 is on its way to. That's not because I'm hating on it. It's just the reality. Microsoft is pushing DirectX 12. You'll still see Vulkan around. It's not just going to disappear, but I think it's going to be more relegated to indie titles. And DirectX 12 will take the main spotlight. But in saying that, it's still great. Vega is doing well, and Doom, you know, fantastic. But I want to see something DirectX 11 or DirectX 12 for that matter, 4K, and then you'll have something really to go off then. But not Doom, because Vulkan it's very special, and OpenGL is just a million years old. So
Okay.
I just
So Steve, what's your thoughts? I'm saying I love this Vega. Bring it on.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. But adding on to what Kevin was saying, in that recent RX 480 versus 1060 comparison that I did do, whereas overall the cards came out to be much the same performance-wise, but in Doom at 1440p, AMD had a 17% performance advantage.
Okay.
So whatever result you're looking at, you've sort of got to think, you know, they're being buffed there by about, you know, 15 or 20%.
Yeah.
In that title, opposed to what they would be in your average, say, DirectX 11 title.
Okay, in the real world, I say in the real world. It doesn't matter about the real world. Let's forget about the real world. I'm loving this.
So you know, like if Vega was on par with, say, just throwing it out there, like the 1080 in Doom, it would be around 20% slower in a lot of the DirectX 11 titles, or up to anyway.
Well, I mean, screw the real world. We're on the internet anyway.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
Virtual
I mean,
reality.
what I'm more impressed with is this when they're talking about the HBM specifications in the same article. That's quite cool as well. I mean, this really will explain to a lot of people the difference there between HBM1 and HBM2, and you could see it's a very good improvement there with HBM2. You're going to not have the limiting factors you did with HBM1, which obviously a lot of people have problems with,
memory
especially
size.
with memory size.
I mean, you're looking at here, you've got even double the speed like this time around. That's huge. I mean, you don't even the HBM1 speeds weren't a problem. It was just, you know, the chip size, the max chip size. So I mean, this HBM2 is just going to be insane. So
yeah. Well, probably overkill.
Yeah. So I mean, people are pulling out 12.5 teraflops of actual gaming performance based on their MI20. I think they had this box there with, what was it, 4 of the cards loaded in there, and it was getting 100 teraflops in FP16 or something. So yeah, I mean, then they can deduce from that you're going to get this performance sort of in games and stuff. Which, you know, I'm waiting for Vega. I want to see what they do. It'd be awesome to have, like, you know, just a whole fresh machine with everything. So Really looking
No,
forward
it's
to
just
that.
the memory is going to be a big selling point. I'll say that right now. Vega's one of its biggest selling points will be that HBM2, and AMD will be able to market it heavily around that, because that is quite a good jump forward, especially when you think of GDDR5X. I think was a bit of a letdown for a lot of people. Not hating on it. I mean, I run a 1080, but it wasn't as much of a leap, I suppose, as I thought a lot of people, myself included, thought it would be at its current stage right now. The same way HBM1, I think people expected it. Speeds-wise, it was good. It was just that the memory size was very limiting, where I think HBM2 is going to alleviate that with 8 gigs of HBM2. That's going to be more than enough, and with its ridiculous bandwidth and speeds, it's going to be insane, and this will very much help the overall performance of that Vega GPU by a lot. I think this is really going to open it up big time, and it's going to be kicking some serious ass with that HBM2, as opposed to, say, a lot of GPUs now still running GDDR5.
That's it. I'm gonna I can't wait to head over to Tekka tomorrow, and just he's gonna have the heavy metal blasting with the AMD benchmarks, and I'm gonna wear an AMD for life shirt and thumbs up in his video, like, yeah, brother. They should change the thumbs up button for that video to red instead of green. That'd be freaking cool. So whenever there's AMD benchmarks, you got to go over to Tekka tomorrow, because it has to be listened with heavy metal. I think that's a
Ulrich does a good job. So that's great. That's quite pretty good. But I just wanted to ask Steve, what do you really make of HBM2 over HBM1? Is it enough of an improvement for you to be sufficiently interested in it now?
Oh,
Were you a
yeah,
big
definitely.
fan of HBM?
I was a big fan of HBM, but like you say, it was just the capacity was the limiting factor. Especially early on when it first came out, you had enough bandwidth there to sort of mitigate the limited capacity in a lot of situations. So you sort of basically, if you didn't have that massive bandwidth, the 4 gig buffer would have been a real big problem. So I honestly think if the specs are what they appear to be for HBM2, it's going to be overkill. Like, there's going to be no bottleneck on the memory side for capacity, throughput. It's just going to let it's going to be, the GPU is going to be able to do its thing without having to worry about any of that. So, yeah, I mean, it looks good, but we'll wait and see what happens when it lands.
We'll have to wait and see. I do want to get a Vega card, though. I'm very curious to just see how games will run at 4K. I want to do it as a 4K gaming session on one of these things. Even if I have to tune down some of the settings, it doesn't matter, I just want to do it.
Well, I don't think it's
HBM2. I think that's where it'll benefit people. Even these 8K monitors coming out. You put 2 of those in Crossfire if you can. I mean, and that's where it's gonna. That HBM2 will start to kick into effect. So there's only so much you can do with GDDR5 and even GDDR5X. So next up here we've got the gaming revival kit. Or survival kit. I don't know what it is like. NVIDIA releasing a revival kit to give you a 1060, a 240 GB SSD, and a CX450M power supply, and then Gears of War 4. So some kit here that interesting to see NVIDIA kind of do this. I think more than anything, interesting to see NVIDIA actually do this. What do you guys think?
It's not really clear if it is it's NVIDIA branded, but yeah, it's MSI Corsair hardware.
Yeah.
They've probably released this to fix up all those old computers you've built, mate.
That's it. It's probably there to fix up all those old computers I built and sold. So
it should be the Tech City revival kit.
Yeah, that's it. Tech City's used PC revival kit, because you got the slow hard drive in there. You might even have the old GPU. It seems like a perfect go there. Power supplies though, I've been putting server power supplies in there, man. Power supplies I've been putting in those computers arguably would be better than the CX450. Just saying. So they've also they forgot the biggest thing. You know what they forgot to advertise in this article? The T-shirt. I mean, come on. You get an NVIDIA T-shirt.
Oh, you get a T-shirt?
Yeah, an NVIDIA T-shirt.
Okay.
I mean, they got to put the cost in there, like €500, limited edition NVIDIA T-shirt. I mean, yeah. They should have had the guy
I
in the
don't know.
admittedly, they should have had the guy in the photo wearing an NVIDIA t-shirt. I mean, come on, AMD, you guys are off your marketing game here.
We don't want to see
Just
the
saying.
box.
Well, yeah, at the back of the box, he's
Yeah.
wearing like Ozero's t-shirt. I mean, that's not right for NVIDIA to do that. Like, usually the NVIDIA got perfect marketing, so I'm kind of surprised. Critique.
No, it's the CX450M is a curious choice. I mean, it's cheap, but it's it's semi-modular as well. So that's I don't know. I mean, maybe it's an alright choice. Bronze power supplies in New Zealand have gone massively out of fashion because we actually had new laws put through limiting individuals. You can still buy a bronze power supply and run it in your PC. That's still fine, but companies can no longer, custom computer companies like Playtech and that build lots of great gaming PCs. They cannot use bronze power supplies. That's banned now. You have to run silver as a minimum.
Wow.
Silver is the new minimum now.
So
they said it was about power efficiency and stuff, and because we had in Auckland, at least in the past, we have had problems with power when there's droughts and that the hydroelectric dams run low, and everyone has to. They have massive campaigns for everyone to save power because the city starts running. You do realize if
you underclocked your RAM, your CPU, you'd save more power than you would on a difference between a bronze and a silver. I mean, that's just stupid.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that's how it is. So that's their reasoning for it.
Everyone start running the dual core.
Have they banned?
You'll never see it now. You never see them.
Well, dual cores are getting banned because they're making 4 threads a minimum on some things. So it's like, what's going on here? It's going both ways. So I don't know.
I find it interesting.
I think that's pretty stupid. I mean,
supplies.
As someone said in the comments, I mean, a non 80 plus, okay, I could understand, but like an 80 plus bronze is actually freaking good. Like it's that sweet spot for value if you're entering the market. I think that's a stupid decision. So. Because a lot of those, those entry level SUs, which they'll do a decent job. Talking about the EVGA and whatnot, they're $40-50 and they do a good job, and they're bronze rated. So it's kind of a little bit disappointing to see that actually. And I know, like even with those server SUs that I'm using, they're bronze rated and they got great components in them. So that's New Zealand, eh? What's happened? Is that since the Prime Minister quit?
No, just go.
Things are already going downhill. Yeah, things are already going downhill.
This happened a while ago, but yeah, there was a good reason for it. But I mean, I don't think it affected many of the retailers much because you can get cheap silver power supplies now, silver grade power supplies. So that's. That I don't really think it affected them much, but you can still buy one if you're going to build the PC yourself. You can still buy one and build it around the bronze power supply if you want to. It's just the retailers are restricted now, and I think that's for not just custom computers. I think that's for all computers, like the ones they might sell in different stores like Harvey Norman and stuff. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I just know custom computer wise, if it's built by a retailer, it has to be running silver as the minimum, which has brought the price up a tiny bit. But people were saying there's not that much different with the price nowadays, and honestly, you can find silver grade power supplies for the same price as many of the bronze ones. So it's not really the end of the world for a lot of people.
Okay, so now next up, article from TechSpot here, 3DFX. Steve, you wouldn't have anything to do with this article, would you?
Well, I didn't write this one.
Best 3DFX glide games. So is that that's the API, that they're using, and they're dropping that in. So Quake 2 used that. Carmageddon 2, Carpocalypse Now. Biggest one would be Doom 2. I mean Diablo 2. Yeah, that's huge. I didn't know that. So Diablo 2 uses this API, yeah. So
so it's basically it's just a throwback to all these old, games that were built around that, the 3DFX when it was the in thing. And I didn't write this, but I came across it, and the the Need for Speed 2, I remember playing that game, and I remember thinking at the time, man, this looks so realistic. These cars are just amazing. The graphics are on point.
Yeah.
And, it's been so long since I've gone back and seen the game. And then just seeing that static screenshot of the game, I was like, is that what it looked like back then?
Yeah.
And then, it's interesting looking at all these, original 3D titles like Quake and stuff like that.
Yeah, Mech Warrior. I liked Mech Warrior back in the day. That was pretty cool. Some blast of the past. Anyway, so if you guys want to start getting your questions ready in the comment section, that'd be awesome, because we got the giveaway from Tech Show, giveaway announcement for that SteelSeries kit, the Gaming Survival Revival kit. And Sean Davis from, where was he from again? You
Perth.
Perth. Okay, so Perth in Australia. He's not smoking, he's vaping. Okay. So he looks like a vapor there, father too, looks like a dad. Cool. Congratulations, Sean Davis, on winning the SteelSeries
headset,
Survival.
the mouse,
Revival,
the keyboard, and the mouse pad. Yeah, so he did well at that. He's from New Zealand as well, so it was good to see. I guess he's out in Perth. A lot of the main reason Kiwis head out there is for the mining jobs. Yeah. So yeah, he's maybe doing something like that. But I mean, maybe not. Not everyone in Perth does that, but a lot of people that head over there do that. But yeah, have you ever been to Perth, Brian?
Not in ages. So maybe when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
I forgot.
You ever been there, Steve?
No.
Not many people have, though.
Well, Perth is just, it's
miles
like another
away.
country, yeah.
It's too far over there.
It's almost like another country.
What, 5 hours from? Yeah. 5 hours from
it's a
Gold
flight.
Coast?
Yeah,
or
5 hour flight, man. It's huge, yeah. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. Couldn't be
I
bothered.
was just saying with that 3D with the older games that you guys are saying. Did you ever play Interstate 76? That was one I saw there that I haven't thought about that game in such a long time. They had two. There was Interstate 76 and another one called Interstate 82, I believe. But that game, when I remember the funniest thing about it when I played it when I was young was that you could use your pistol to shoot other people in cars that would like be chasing or whatever out the window, and if you killed them, all that would happen would be their car horn would go off, and I could never figure out when I was young why that was the case until someone told me, oh, the person died and they're like heads laying on the horn of the car, and I was like, oh, is that what it is? But yeah, that was just one of the funny things about it. But Carmageddon as well, that was banned in Australia, I believe, wasn't it?
I don't know, man. It's been so
One of them.
long.
Carmageddon. Everything gets banned. It's so funny, man. You guys talk about New Zealand having ridiculous laws. Aussie just bans everything. It's like, oh, this game's slightly graphic, ban this, ban that.
Mainly nowadays, it's mainly on consoles, though. It's mainly on consoles, so
nothing is
and you
banned
can get
here. I've
around it
never
nowadays.
seen a game banned in New Zealand. There's never been a game that I can remember that was banned in New Zealand. They ban them from certain companies won't sell them, certain ones, but it's because of they want to keep up a certain image or something. But I've never heard of them getting banned. But yeah.
Well, we're going to go over to
That's
Q&A.
something
We're
I've
going to go to Q&A now. Prince's mobile computer repair. He says, I have a GTX 690 graphics card. Is that considered old? Yes, brother. It's considered ancient. You got to get rid of that thing. Give it to Wendell. Wendell likes them. And then, or sell it to Wendell. Sure, he'd be interested in buying it. He's saying it runs Battlefield 1 and his old Star Wars PC game pretty slow. So, yeah, I mean, time to upgrade. GTX 1070, whatever, or wait for Vega, and then you have a massive card. Because, if you bought a GTX 690, you got money, right? So, wait for those. They'll be pretty good. Bang. Yeah. You're in. So, have you guys tried the new Relive drivers? Yeah. With an R9 390. Have you tried it with an R9 390, Steve? He says he's getting screen flickering when using dual screens.
Yeah, I've had a lot of guys complain about it, and it's probably something I'll look at in the next day or so, but no, I have to admit I haven't checked it on the older, or previous generation cards, I should say.
Yeah, it is a first gen release of this driver, so if you are having problems, try doing a full fresh install, as Steve recommended, DDU, direct driver uninstall. Do that, run that, run a clean install. Yeah, run a clean install, and then see how it goes. If it's still running bad, then revert back to that driver that you were using with no problems until they release an update. Send AMD an email, say, hey, I'm having this problem, show them a screenshot, and that'll help them fix it up. So Yeah, well, he's already tried. Okay, he's already tried DDU, but no luck still. So yeah, that'd be probably a driver problem then, most likely. So also, I've noticed with AMD, they can have, especially if you're running a monitor driver. I don't know nowadays if any monitors do run. I know, for instance, my old Acer. You know, if you guys remember any of my old used builds, I'd show those pan shots with the psychedelic image. That was actually an AMD driver problem that actually hasn't been fixed to this date. It's with my Acer H243 monitor, and because it runs off a driver, it shows up that psychedelic image over a HDMI port. So that's why that was happening. Doesn't happen on an NVIDIA card. So again, drivers can not only affect things from the driver level, but it can also be a driver conflict if you've got a monitor with a unique driver of its own. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. So might want to look at your monitors as well. What 2 monitors are you using, and if so, do they use drivers? And then you might want to tell AMD about that. So yeah, what else have we got here for comments?
FreeSync or G-Sync?
To be honest, I don't use it. I've got a G-Sync monitor, and the only time I ever use it is if I'm playing RPG games. Anything competitive, I turn it off. So that's about me. What about you?
FreeSync 100%. You're seeing it now with the market. I mean, look at the amount of FreeSync monitors there are compared to the amount of G-Sync monitors there are. It's just crazy. Like, all the companies are getting on board with FreeSync, and
it's going to push NVIDIA to do something for free as well, which is a great thing too. So I'd go with FreeSync as well. If you're buying a new monitor, I mean, you're getting a 4K monitor for $400 IPS. Why would you want to pay an extra $200 for a G-Sync version? That's 50% of the freaking monitor cost on something that I wouldn't even use that much, you know. Yeah. So how about you, Steve? What do you think about that?
Yeah, FreeSync.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So Brian,
nothing.
Ooh, I got asked a question directly. Can we still overclock Xeons using the base clock overclock method? Yes, apparently you can, right? Those Skylake ones, yeah? And yes or no? I'm not too sure. I haven't tried that yet, because old Xeons, you know, up till Nylon was when you could overclock via base clock for free. The multipliers were locked even then, but then Sandy, they cracked onto it. And you could overclock Xeons on certain motherboards that allowed FSP straps. FSB straps, frontside bus straps. So next question, are the Kaby Lake processors the only CPUs that are capable of streaming HDR movies on PC? Or is that only for Netflix? I wouldn't know that. I'm not too sure. I don't have Netflix at the moment. It's a sin, isn't it? Do you guys know? Skylake CPU is the only one that can stream HDR?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I did hear something, like that. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Yep.
That is where everything's going now, though. HDR. So, I mean,
yeah.
Someone said no, AMD Relive has HDR support.
Okay, so why doesn't Xbox and PlayStation enable FreeSync? I guess it's just not supported, yeah? Yet, and I guess...
I just don't think you can at this stage, even though they're running AMD graphics. I mean,
they were made a while ago too. I mean, those PlayStation 4s were in development in 2012 or something, yeah? 2000, it's really early, right? So
how many TVs support FreeSync?
Yeah, and they were made for 1080p gaming back then. And now that you've got the base model done with just an enhancement on the graphics, it's kind of like maybe they don't even want to bother throwing it in. You know, and console gamers, are they really going to care?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it'd come down to money. You know, if it was viable financially to implement it and worth the marketing costs, they would do it. Trust me. So if they're not doing it, they don't think it's a big deal for the intended market. So Sony and Microsoft. That's just my opinion there. May I ask a question? Of course you can. That's what this whole Q&A segment's about, brother. So go at it. Is there any questions? There's lots of questions coming in. Do you guys want to answer any while I just scroll through?
What upload speeds do you all get? Well, mine are terrible. I'm at, 10, I think, here.
Yeah, so
although
you're good. That's actually good. I'm on 2 megabits per second. 2 megabits, which is like 300 kilobytes.
I'm on 6, so I'd love 10.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it's bad. It's bad.
How long does it take to upload a video for you guys?
2 hours.
Well, I was on 2 like Brian not that long ago, and yeah, it was a nightmare. Hours. It only takes about half an hour now, so that's lightning fast for me. Half an hour video
Oh,
done.
God.
Yeah, well, dude, that's just how it is, man. I mean, hopefully I get MBN in the next place we're moving into. I mean, hopefully. One can only pray. So, yeah, any 1440p monitor suggestions? Oh, I got a lot, man. 1440p is a sweet spot. You got Korean monitors.
Oh,
you've
got
144 hertz monitors. You got, low-priced entry-level monitors, the 25-inch versions. Whatever you want, man, you can get it from a 1440p. So you just got to give us your budget. And then you've got a selection there to choose from. Heaps. I'd say 1440p is probably the best selection at the moment. It's got a lot going for it. So it's because it's where you want to be too. If you're a 27-inch 1440p is a sweet spot, I think. So, do I like Paladins?
Yeah,
it's good. It's good. I just don't have any time to play games at the moment. Like, forced to have no time. So, mods are doing a great job too. The mods are deleting all the trolls and banning them, which is great. Thanks, mods. Okay, so can you do an overclock guide on MSI's Gaming Pro Carbon? Yeah, I mean, I've got an overclocking guide out there for Haswell E. It's pretty much the same thing, right? With a 6800K, all you got to do is set in your multiplier and pretty much set in the CPU voltage. If you are running XMP profiles, then you may have to up the system agent voltage. Like, literally, they're the only two things you have to worry about, and drop the cache ratio. So just, for instance, put your CPU 6800K to 4.1 gigahertz, try that 1.3 volt, lock that in, and save and exit. And you should be running absolutely fine. You might have to drop your cache ratio down to like 32 or 31. Just try that for beginners, and I guarantee that'll work on any 6800K. And that's like, I don't need to really make a guide for that, because it's easy to overclock on that platform. I mean, X58, I'm going to do a guide for that because there's like a lot of different voltages you got to watch, and there's certain things to look out for. So, yeah. Okay.
Just going back to one of the questions before with the 1440p monitor, I really like the AOC Agon.
Yeah.
I can't remember the 27-inch 1440p 144 hertz FreeSync. I mean, you can pick that thing up for like $800 at Playtech, which is 800 New Zealand dollars, which I think is just incredible value for money. High refresh rate, 1440p, and FreeSync. So yeah, that would be my pick for a 1440p. One of those AOC Agon series are extremely good value for money. The only letdown being that they all run TN panels, which some of you guys won't like, but it's not really the end of the world unless you're doing productivity stuff.
Yeah.
You're just gaming.
Joe asked a good question. I mean, I want to get your opinion too. He's got a GTX 1060. Now he wants to go either 1080 widescreen 1080p or 1080p 144 hertz. In those two comparisons, I would go for the 144 hertz. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, I'd agree as well, for sure.
There you go. Verdict in Joe Tiago. Just get the 1080p 144 hertz. Bang. So,
yeah.
Okay, how about 640 by 360 resolution? Oh man, get on that straight away, brother. Like, that's where you want to be, Back in the Nintendo 8-bit days. So,
any good IPS displays for gaming? Yeah, they're expensive though, so you'll be running quite a bit. But I believe from who is it? I can't actually remember the XB27. Oh boy, trying to remember off the top of my head. That was there was a G-Sync capable. I think it was from a Zeus monitor that was 4K G-Sync and IPS, and I really liked that. But oh boy, will that XB271HU. So that was an IPS.
Yeah.
That's Acer, isn't it?
Acer. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Predators. Yeah. You're right. That Acer, one I really quite like. That was a 1440p. I'm sorry. I get muddled between the different codes.
Yeah, isn't it a big deal?
There's the XB271HK was the 4K, and the HU was the 1440p. So yeah, but they're really good. That IPS panel I really like in those Predators that run them. But some of the Predators, the older ones, all ran TN panels, so just make sure you get one of the new ones, but they're really nice, really, really nice.
So you got to ask that, yeah. So TN versus IPS, how are they comparing the modern day? I'd say they're getting close. I mean, IPS still isn't TN for response times, but it's getting really damn close. Personally, I'd pick IPS
like
nowadays.
now. Yeah,
I'd pick an IPS nowadays.
Yeah.
More of those AHVA panels. They're the ones that are cutting the response times down. And then we've got to ask, can a 1060 push 144 FPS? Yeah, I mean, it depends on your settings. I'd be more concerned about the CPU, especially, than the GPU on the 1080p 144 hertz. You have to make sure you got a good CPU to get up to 144 frames per second on average too. I mean, maybe Steve can chime in since he's benchmarked so many freaking games already.
Well, yeah, you would definitely have to compromise on quality settings, ultra settings, and that you're gonna at 1080p on those cards. It's sort of more around the 80 FPS, 80 to 100 maybe. So, but I mean, dropping down a few certain settings, you'd get close to that anyway. But as you said, you'd want either a Core i5 or Core i7 processor overclocked, to 4.5 gigahertz or higher to sort of achieve that at 1080p.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So yeah, I mean, drop the settings down. I find ultra and high, there's no real big difference. I love gaming at 4K on high because that's where a lot of these, GTX 1070 will do that. I love it, And it's funny because when I did that PC I recently built, I just did the benchmarks with shadow play on. I just couldn't give a shit. I didn't have much time, so I would have got even better results had I not been using shadow play. So would have gotten popped off a little bit extra frames in there, but it was overclocked anyway, so I guess it evens out. But that's just that. In the Jar Jar mug, people love the Jar Jar mug. So yeah, no, gaming at 60 FPS is fine. I mean, gaming at 144 hertz, as I said it before, it's for those pros. It's for the young guys. I mean, I'm gonna say, go out on a limb here. It's for the young guys who need the competitive advantage. I game at 60 FPS, absolutely fine. I love it. It's enjoyable. It's fine. As you get older, your reactions slow down. Whatever. You just, we're all a bunch of has-beens here when it comes to competitive gaming. That's easy to say. So yeah, this is the young guys, the talent coming up in the industry. Get yourself a 144 hertz monitor, and it looks gorgeous. Not only that, you'll get a competitive advantage, or you should, a little bit, very slightly. So it's up to you guys.
Yeah, it'll help a little bit. I mean, it depends on you as a person. Personally, I prefer higher resolution over higher refresh rate, but that's just me. I'd rather run 4K 60 hertz than 1080p 144 hertz.
Okay.
In my personal opinion, that's where I'm at, and that's what I personally like. But what are you, Steve? Do you prefer resolution to speeds or refresh rate?
As long as you're doing a 60 FPS minimum, I'm happy on anything with that. Yeah. But I would, if I had my choice of 144 hertz at 1440p or 4K at 60 hertz, I'd probably go for 1440p myself. It also depends on the display size, because 4K, you need a fairly large screen for that to really be a noticeable difference, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like 1440p, I'd rather go for 1440p 144 hertz than 4K 60 hertz in hindsight.
Yeah.
But I mean, 1080p, I think there's a huge difference though. 1080p versus 1440p. I think all those pixels your eyes are noticing.
Yeah, it's personal preference, obviously. Like, there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably go for, especially if it's around the 30-inch size, I find 1440p to be perfectly fine at that size.
John Bumpety says, I'm 34 and I game competitively, but are you a scrub? That's the question. But yeah, we got here. Prince, he really wants to get his. He's asking if his 2560 by 1600 HP ZR30W monitor is still good. It's 30-inch. I'd ask him, does it still have CCFL backlighting? I absolutely love CCFL backlighting in a monitor. I think they need to bring that back. I think it shits on LED. I love it. If you still got that monitor, it might be a gem. Especially if the backlighting hasn't, faded over the years. So yeah, there we go. Oh, come on, Joe. John didn't answer back. I asked if he was a scrub, and then he just laughed it off. I mean, I'm talking about the guys like the pros, the guys who game competitively and they're like up, like over 2K Gladiator or whatever in World of Warcraft. These kids, they're talented nowadays, man. They're like, you watch them, like even on CSGO, you watch these guys and they're just full of energy. They're like twitching their character. I'm like, I could only imagine what they're like in real life. They're just sitting there like fucking, like fucking shaking. And yeah, that's just when you're young, you know. That's what it is. So
There you go. He's replied to you now.
no, there he goes. Yeah, he's admitted he's a scrub. That's all right, man. I'm a scrub too, dude. Just watch some of my gameplay clips and some of my PC builds. It's okay to be a scrub. I used to be good. Man. I used to be like #1 in Brood War in Australia, dude. I know what it feels like. Trust me, it hits me the hardest. I can't game like I used to, man. I can't game like I used to. It was 1900 rated in Hon as well. Up there with some of those big boys who stepped across the Dota 2. You know, I know what it feels like, man. Trust me. Has been now. Just don't
There's
have
always someone running these weird displays. I'm on 1024 by 1280
Yeah.
19-inch Samsung Sync Master display.
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Why do people... What?
Okay.
I didn't think people were still running stuff like that.
Worst port of the year. I mean, I've stayed away from all the bad ports. Look, we'll do the last question. What is the worst port of the year? I mean, I've stayed away from all those bad ports, so I wouldn't know personally. If they've had even under 50% rating, I haven't even gone near them to purchase them. How about you guys?
Well, I see Dishonored 2 got a mention there, which is,
Yeah.
Dishonored 2 was bad. It's definitely been patched up and it's a lot better now than it was on release. But for me, I'd probably go with Mafia 3.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. Mafia 3 was probably the worst. It just really sucked from what I heard, eh? So what about you, Kev?
Yeah, well, even today.
Yeah, all right. Just before we go, though, I will say, just have a listen. Ugh. Real force. Just listen to that.
Yeah, it's like if my ears could puke.
Always. No need to be jelly on stream, man. Come on.
Oh, no, I'm not jelly, man. I'm running Cherry Mix, you know, made in Germany, my Cherry Mix Blues.
I'm made in Japan,
properly
brother.
made.
Oh, Japanese made,
Oh.
properly made, brother. So, anyway, there we go. I was over. Yeah, I don't know. I can't get enough of my real force. Anyway, guys, we are going to we're gonna wind down the stream. Big thanks to Kev, and I was gonna say big thanks to Steve. Of course, Kev coming on every week. Thanks, Kev, and also Steve for coming in as a guest. Awesome to have him on, guys. So go check out Hardware Unboxed. Steve, the benchmark king, just doesn't stop benchmarking this guy. If you want benchmarks on anything, he probably has it already. But if you don't, I mean, I'm sure you could send him off an email and he might even add it into the 100 games plus that he's already benchmarking. So, yeah, so there you go, guys. Thanks a lot for coming on, Steve. Any last words you want to say before we jump out of here?
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun, and I'm keen to do it again for sure.
Yep. All right, so I'll put the links in the description below for both these bad boys. And Kev, anything to say?
Just I've had a great time doing the Tech Lounge. This will be the last one for this year, for 2016. So, I've really enjoyed it. I haven't done anything like this before, and it's been great with Brian and having great guests on like Steve, and having Wendell on was really fun as well. And we've just been having a great time. A lot of good tech coming out, and I think January, like all Q1 next year, I think the show's going to be really, really good.
Oh yeah.
Once we start back up in January, there's going to be a lot of good stuff for us to talk about there, and we'll be doing lots of good reviews and stuff like that for you guys. So definitely looking forward to Q1 2017. It's going to be great.
Probably make a video too, thanking everyone for helping out the channel. Make a Merry Christmas video. I love that. Christmas is always a beautiful time. Go have some fun with your family and friends, guys. And of course watch the scheduled videos that are coming out. But going to be going on holiday probably 24th, Christmas Eve. So start holiday and then have a break. So it's going to be awesome. And thanks for you all for tuning in. I love you guys in the audience out there. You guys make this possible. Any tech channels that we do, you guys are the guys. You guys are the real champs out there. You guys are the winners. So, and on the weekend, of course, I got lucky and I won. So, but anyway,
with Murray.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys in another. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out for now. Bye.